Yeah. Oh, we're on episode 22.
Sweet.
I've just went to our
It's
web.
Mudvark, right? It's Mudvark these days. No, it's Fiddlesticks. Fucking hell, they're gonna stop making companies.
Fiddlestick.
Stop
Oh,
making
look.
company names, Henry.
It's the creators behind Mortamelon.
Mudvark, Fiddlesticks, Toxic Games, whatever the new Cube 2 logo was under.
Yeah, man, it's all a money laundering front.
Yeah. Oh man, you're playing it bold here, Henry, having your video on. You don't know that crashes video so bad, right?
Really?
Yeah.
He hasn't got video on with me, is he? Oh wait, let's accept it. Fuck it. Why not?
Oh god.
do it.
Remember last time we did that?
Henry, sexy Henry, how's it going? I'd put my video on, but I'm sort of naked, so I mean we could do the same thing, but my nipples are actually out.
I can put mine on. I'm pretty safe. I feel I'm pretty safe. I mean, granted, it looks like I'm talking into a dildo.
Should I put clothes on if that's the case? Oh my god, it looks so.
I'm not
dodgy.
well, am I recording the screen? I am recording the screen, but it's going to be basically a JPEG or whatever the fuck I can find.
I can see like there's just a load of sex toys on your chest of drawers behind you.
Yeah, I got my favorite
The silver
pug of penetration.
Very nice. For those awkward angles.
You know, the cuddling owl for like snuggling afterwards.
After the pug.
Yeah, after the penetrating pug, you gotta really lube that one up.
I'll put my camera on. Give me a sec. I'll get some clothes on.
Don't worry, you don't have to get dressed, Pete.
I know you miss university, Henry.
I'm pretty sure we've all seen each other pretty much naked.
Pretty much.
Through university. We've all seen each other in vulnerable states. That's at least guaranteed.
No,
or skin-tight lycra, like the morph suits.
Yes.
The morph suits. So good. So much fun.
But you didn't dedicate yourself to the dressing gown.
No. That was too much of a commitment.
Yep. So how you been, Henry? I mean, I know you've been pretty much just non-stop. Yeah.
Man, the embargo went up today, so reviews have been coming out all day today.
Yeah, I've seen
it's crazy.
Pretty much watching you and Dan are the best things ever on my active Twitter feed, because I just see you do nothing for months on end, and then I can tell you exactly when you've been to a convention because it's just nothing but follow.
Yeah, right. It's true. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. We've been finishing the game for ages now. It feels like we've just been finishing it for months and months and months. But we sent review copies out, and it's getting reviewed and stuff. I never thought that would happen.
What, you never thought you'd finish this game, or?
No, I just thought I was going to be working on it forever. That's what I'd kind of resigned myself to.
Just got to keep finding those investors.
Yeah, exactly. And then starting those money laundering companies.
Yeah, set up the producers.
There we go.
Oh, geez.
I heard dressing gown, right?
Oh my god. Are you in the Bahamas or something? You look like a drug smuggler in your.
You should see my passport doing so much worse.
I thought you'd be at your table.
No, I thought I'd be lazy and go to the kind of lounge table instead.
The lounge table.
The lounge table.
Is your table covered in white powder by any chance?
Possibly. Nature's flower. How you been, Henry? You're good though, yeah?
Yeah, all good, man.
Nice.
It's been pretty.
It's officially gone, isn't it? It's gone gold. It's coming out tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m.
That's crazy.
Which is insane.
When you get your disc copy.
Yeah.
The disc copy. So there actually is going to be a disc Vita copy, but that's the only version that's going to have.
Stop keeping those factories alive, damn it!
We're keeping game alive, man. That's the plan.
You're keeping China running, you asshole. I love that that's actually true. The people who do these one-off Vita runs for discs now, they've actually got reports from the factories that do them and go, you are literally the only thing that's keeping us alive.
Really?
Yeah,
well,
it's crazy.
I can sleep at night now. That's good.
Yeah, hey, if you get in with the Vita crowd, they'll look after you.
Yeah, yeah.
They're crazy dedicated to.
I know. I mean, our most vocal people have been the Vita fans. We accidentally, when we sent out a press release, we accidentally said that the Vita was releasing the same time
It's
as
a
all the other
big garbage fire.
Yeah, that was like a big mistake because lots of people were pretty annoyed. But in the end, they were just pretty chuffed it was coming out on Vita in the first place because I don't think they really have very many games at all.
Yeah,
Really.
man, that's the biggest
No.
like mic drop you can ever do to like a set of like fans ever. It's just like go like, hey guys, we're bringing it out to you too, and they'll go like,
Yeah.
oh.
That's exactly
Like
right.
10%, well, maybe 5% of the gaming universe that is using that.
Yeah, yeah. But it's funny, like there's a few other guys that I know that have released on Vita and PS4, and they've had twice as many sales on Vita as they have on PS4.
Yeah, I've heard there's a very good indie scene, and the
Yeah.
conversion rate's really high.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think they just buy all of them buy everything.
Yeah, it's like we've got to keep this platform going as long as possible. Please, Sony, don't discontinue
OVL
it.
screens, man, they're so good resolution.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep it going.
Damn.
But yeah, and then we had some people angry as well. So like about 2 years ago or 1 year ago, we announced PS3 support, and we were just like, yeah, we'll support PS3 off the cuff. And then we had a bunch of angry people like, where is our PS3, man? Where is our PS3?
Where's your NES support? Let's see that.
Yeah.
And Wii U as
Where's
well.
your Dreamcast?
Yeah, Wii U.
You're doing Wii U or not Wii U? Because I can totally see the Wii U pad working quite nicely with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would work quite well. I would like to do it, but at the moment there isn't a business case for it. But I'll wait and see. If
Why
hopefully
not skip Wii U and go to the NX?
I can't talk about anything about the NX. Again.
You've already said too
You
much.
said skip. No,
I've been told I can only say no comment to any question regarding
Any
that
question?
potential platform. I don't know.
So,
No,
Amiibo
nothing.
support.
I know nothing. Nintendo? What?
This interview's going to be quite short, isn't it, really? So how was Cube? No, Hugh. I mean, no comment. Nothing. Nothing.
Just when you just don't want to answer any questions, just like, did someone say the NX gotta go?
I'm out. Oh man, I've just got my Twitter stream of like new reviews that are coming out. Oh god.
It's reviewing really well, though, from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's coming together okay. It's mainly 8s and 9s at the moment, which is really awesome. So
That's awesome stuff, dude, you know?
yeah, it's really good.
Just
I
think
can't, I can't wait for the review of just, it's just another indie platformer.
Oh
What
man,
an-
we've got so many that are like, oh, it's just Limbo. It's just Limbo. No, it's not just Limbo, damn it. We had a destructoid
It's
preview.
just inside where, like, at the end, Hugh turns into a huge bulbous mob and like tries to break out
Dude,
the
you can't say
freedom.
that. You can't say that on here. That's gonna spoil.
Don't worry,
it.
I don't think Al's actually recording at the moment, so it's all right.
That's all right then.
We haven't started the official interview yet, you know. It's more just a general catch-up, Henry. We haven't spoken
Okay,
to
cool,
you in
that's-
ages.
Oh, wait.
I don't want to be spoiling inside.
Well, here you go. Everybody, stop.
What?
Spoiler alert. There, I can edit in that later.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm magic.
But yeah, we had a Destructoid preview that went out a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like, oh, what does it say? It was like, Hugh is like a colourful limbo, and that's okay. I'm just like, oh man, that is so lame.
And did you say Destructoid? You're like a slightly less colourful. That's okay.
What? Like you cut out there, man.
You said really expletive words.
Oh no.
No, I said. Did you say to them like in response? So Destructoid, you're like a really not very colourful Kotaku, and then that's
Oh man, I've got to be super nice to the journalists. They go.
You won't ever get
Okay,
bought
that-
out by the Latino film industry. So how's it been actually? Like, because like we don't normally talk to developers at this point in like their little process. So like, how's it been actually just doing like the whole PR thing?
Wait. Should we save this for the actual interview?
Oh
Right.
man, I'm already doing it. So
Oh,
It's
for God's
happening,
sake, Al.
It's happening.
I'll edit everything in that I need to.
Most unstructured interview ever. Yes.
What I love.
With you.
By the way, guys, this is Huge Update, episode 22. I'm your host, Alistair McInnes, and this is Pete Morris. We are currently joined with the creator of Hugh Hoffman.
Henry Hoffman.
Oh, that's the best interview ever.
You.
That guy had no idea.
Oh God. So
Hello,
I
everybody.
guess
I am with Hugh Henry.
Henry.
Can you please
Hoffman
tell
of
me
Hewing.
about your game? That's a
Lord
great guy.
Hewington. Well, as I guess we're starting the actual interview now, I guess the first question most people would actually want to know is, what was the proof of concept and how did this journey begin?
This journey began. So it started really when I had Photoshop open. And the way I design games is I get a really core central mechanic, and then I build like a world out from that mechanic. So whereas some people might approach it differently, they'll have like a story, or they'll have an art style or something, and then they'll try and work a mechanic to fit with that. I start at the mechanic itself. So I was thinking about interesting mechanics that could work, and I was just messing around in Photoshop, and I had a colored background and a colored object, and I was just shifting the hue slider back and forth. And I was just watching as the object kind of appeared and disappeared as the hue changed. The sort of perceptual contrast reduced and increased, and then you could like watch as it looks like it was visibly appearing and disappearing. So I thought, like, well, if something is like visibly disappearing and appearing, why can't it also physically appear and disappear? And I thought that was a potentially interesting premise for a game mechanic. And then that got me kind of researching a whole ton of sort of stuff about color theory and about sort of philosophy of knowledge and learned experience and stuff like that. And then those two things sort of came together, and I ended up creating this narrative that questions a lot about our existence, about perception, about things we take for granted. That combined with a sort of hue shifting mechanic that allows you to make things appear and disappear, the two ended up sort of working quite well together.
And then like you had this kind of concept, this idea, and then you went about it in Construct 2. Is that right? You kind of prototyped it afterwards.
Yeah, so the intention really was to build it in Construct 2 to begin with. So I've worked a ton with Construct 2 in the past, and it's always been like a really awesome game engine for getting stuff up and running really quickly. But in the end, we needed to have sort of PlayStation support. We needed a decent sort of proven console, like export options. We needed sort of native performance, really. Construct 2 only outputs to HTML5, which then uses various wrappers, which is fine on desktop and web, but it can cause some issues on console and mobile stuff as well. We would never have been able to get it to Vita, for example. So in the end, we ended up moving to Unity, and something that I'd had no real experience with Unity at that point. So I was able to build the prototype in Construct 2 in 2 weeks, but then in order to do the same thing in Unity, it ended up taking 2 months. So it was quite an extended process, mainly because I was just learning the entire engine from the inside out, and learning how to program for real and not just do visual scripting. So we switched to Unity, and then after we kind of got to grips with it, it turned out to be pretty awesome, really. And it's really easy to get people on board. Like when you're using a really popular game engine, if you need some shader work or something that you can't do yourself, if you just post it on Twitter or whatever, there's going to be someone out there that can help you out. Whereas with Construct 2, I felt like I was at the more advanced end of its user base, and a lot of people that were using it were kind of beginners, which meant that it was very difficult to get people on board that were more experienced than you. And where it's the opposite with Unity. I'm a complete noob with Unity. Everyone else seems to be better than me, so that works quite well.
Not a noob anymore, though.
Well, I'm still a noob. I'm just a noob in disguise. That's what it is.
And the actual mechanic itself, though, the idea of changing, it's a color wheel. I mean, obviously, with the inspiration, I presume, was the idea of the actual color wheel that people use in regards to picking colors. But how did you choose the particular colors you put into Hue?
So the color wheel itself started. There was a game jam that I did called the Tiga Game Hack, and I built a game. It's like an infinite runner where you play as a boy that's afraid of the dark, and he has a torch, and he spins the torch round and he shines it on like piles, or he shines it on monsters, and then they turn into like piles of clothes. So the idea that you're like casting light on stuff in order to see what they really are, and that stuff isn't actually as scary as you thought it was. But that mechanic used the right analog stick in order to sort of shine your torch around in a circular motion. And we used the same thing. We used the same thing for Hue, really, and that was the idea, that we used the right analog stick to control the color wheel. But actually selecting the colors themselves, we had a rough idea what sort of colors we wanted, ones that looked nice. But that by itself isn't enough. What you really need is each color that's next to each other needs to have the maximum contrast to its adjacent colors, so that it's easy to identify them. And in order to do that, I wrote my own algorithm that took some formulas based on sort of usability studies. So when you're building a website and you've got text on a colored background, if you're dyslexic and things like that, you need a high degree of contrast. So I took those formulas, which are kind of tried and tested, and I created a brute force algorithm that tested each color as contrast next to the other one, and then it would adjust the color values, and then it kept adjusting them each until it had created the optimum highest contrast to adjacent color wheel that you could possibly get. And then it looked pretty ugly, so I tweaked it a little bit after that to make it more visually attractive. That's quite a long-winded way of doing things.
I did
It's very
something really
scientific,
complicated to then make it easy. And pretty.
Yeah, so you did a very scientific methodology there to kind of get it to work. But then, as you said, you tweaked it to kind of make it more artistic afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the idea of actually being a platformer, why did you go for platforming over, I don't know, anything else that you could have done with colour?
It's an indie game.
Okay, yeah, that's a really simple answer, isn't it?
Well,
Sorry, Henry.
Well, it had to be 2D first of all for the mechanic to work, and I don't know.
Here's a better way of putting it. What was your inspiration for going for a platformer?
Well, I think it was an interesting puzzle-solving mechanic more than anything, and I think if you're a cat, and I like the idea that you were this character called Hugh as well. So like you play as a small boy. It has to be a 2D game, and then you have to solve puzzles. I think naturally the only way you could really go with that was for it to be a puzzle platformer. But there's another game that came out after we started development called Rumbo, which was like a local multiplayer competitive like speedrunning game. And that has a similar mechanic where the background changes color and then various obstacles disappear. So it definitely works in that context. But for us, for all the other things like the color theory, how we're going to turn that into a story, but a character being called Hugh, bringing up a color wheel and stuff, that all kind of tied in best really with it being a puzzle platformer.
Awesome. And
but
of course,
with Metroidvania elements, because we've got different areas that are kind of blocked off that you can't access until you've got certain colors. So like that Metroidvania exploration thing kind of comes into it a bit as well.
And of course, you mentioned story quite heavily there. I kind of know what most of the story is, but for those who don't know what it is, how would you sum it up without spoiling anything?
Yeah, that's the hard bit. So you play as Hugh, who's a young boy whose mother studies the theory of colors in a completely black and white world. So the theory of colors to her is like this hypothetical concept. She's never seen color before, but she studies it as a theory. And then she becomes so obsessed with her research that she ends up creating a device that actually allows her to perceive color. And then she disappears under these sort of mysterious circumstances. And you go throughout the game world collecting fragments of her colored research in a bid to try and find out what happened to her.
That's a good way of putting it without saying anything really important.
Yeah, exactly.
How good have you got at saying stuff like that?
It's taken a long time. My elevator pitch still isn't that good, actually. It's quite difficult to explain, like, you change the background color to make objects appear and disappear. It's like, my pitch still isn't that great in that regard.
But it's very interesting because, of course, it doesn't really have any violence, does it, really? You're not killing anything, essentially. It's purely exploration, adventure. And what was the decision to go for a more, you could say, placid? But you can still die, of course, from what I've played in the game. But why did you go for more of like the Hugh being quite a placid character?
Yeah, so, I mean, originally when we started planning out the game, we were going to add combat elements in. I mean, in hindsight, that sounds ridiculous because it just wouldn't fit with
work.
the feel of the game. But at the time, we were going to have like various enemies, like in Mario where you've got like the things that walk on the ceiling, like the turtles that walk on the ceiling and stuff. I can't remember what they're called. But we were going to have these different coloured like enemies, and you would have to change colour to them in order for them to disappear and they not to hurt you and stuff. It sounds like it could work in some way if it was a different game, but it didn't really make sense for the tone of Hugh in the end. One thing we were going to add as well, which we decided not to, was various boss sequences. So we were going to try and combine like the puzzle elements that we've used in the world into like a boss sequence. So it was more of like an action-y boss sequence, but there was just too much development time, really. You have to spend a huge amount of time just for like a 5-10 minute boss battle, whereas you could also spend like a tenth of that time just building a really good puzzle instead. So that's kind of what we decided to focus on in the end.
And what was the kind of methodology rather behind the puzzle creating? Was it you who was doing it, or was it also you and other people? And how did you come about choosing those puzzles for the final game?
Yeah, so I did all the puzzle stuff. We tried to get some people on board to help out with puzzle stuff, but in the end, I mean, we used some of those ideas as inspiration, but in the end, because I know the mechanics so well and inside out, it would only really work if I was doing the puzzles myself. So I ended up building about 100 puzzles, I think, and generally the methodology is you sketch down an idea for a puzzle on paper, like a core idea that does something interesting with the mechanics. Each puzzle has to do something interesting and different from all the other puzzles. Like otherwise, you're just padding. Like you're just creating. Like, it's no different to a corridor if you're just duplicating a puzzle and rearranging stuff. So each one had to have a very unique purpose. So you'd try and come up with that purpose on paper first, and then you'd construct it in Engine in Unity, and you'd soon realize that doesn't work at all. And then you'd start again. And the thing is, every puzzle that I designed on paper, not a single one worked when I put it into game. There might have been like an idea or something in there that worked, but the actual puzzle itself was never good when I put it in game. It had to just be completely redone on the fly. So doing stuff on paper was a great starting point, but that never translated into being like an actual good puzzle. And then you would iterate and iterate and iterate, and you would, instead of worrying about like, I need a puzzle to go in this part of the game before and after this one, instead of worrying about all that stuff, you would just be like, I just need to do a really good puzzle with what I've got. Like, I might try with these mechanics, I might try with these ones, and then afterwards you can kind of take a step back and you can be like, right, I've got all these puzzles, let's kind of move them around, see where they go, and then if stuff needs changing or mechanics need taking out, we can do that afterwards. But the main thing really is just to get like a big solid chunk of really good puzzles that do things in interesting ways, and then worry about how it all fits together a little bit afterwards.
And so how did you narrow those puzzles down then for the final game? Because you had like 100 or so. I know you did a lot of testing. I personally tested quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
How did you narrow those down?
You what? Damn. No, it's all a scam. It's all PR. Damn it. You're doing journalism
it's
here.
Still.
Everyone should buy Hugh tomorrow.
We're not the crazy frog from Futurama, sadly, though. You hypnotic eyes.
Yeah, how did you boil them down, Henry? How did you nail them down to the good stuff that's there?
So we got rid of the bad ones.
Awesome. God, people say designing games is hard. Just get rid of the bad stuff.
It really was that simple, really. I mean, there was ones that we knew were genuinely not as good as the other ones. Like if they didn't, we had a lot of puzzles where you weren't solving anything, where you would be like doing things in a sequence and then proceeding, and then that's like, this doesn't do anything. So we got rid of those ones, and every one that's kind of in there has to teach you something new or do something interesting. So those were kind of the ones that were left, really. And the ones that just didn't really have a purpose and were more about like moving through a space rather than solving a puzzle were the ones that got scrapped, really. And some of the more tricky action ones as well. We had some really, really twitchy action sequences that were just frustrating. I think you tested some of them actually, the early university ones with the lasers. It took like hours of just dying and dying and dying. It's horrendous.
I do remember putting the pad down for a short period of time and having a walk. But I loved playing the puzzles that were literally the puzzles, trying to solve almost like, I remember like some of them you can just stand there and you're seeing the puzzle go on in front of you and you're thinking, how do I solve this? What colours do I need? And with the tools you've given me, because of course as it's a puzzle game and you explore more, I know the colours unlock as you go along. How did that come into play though? How did you choose what colours were next?
So the way that we chose like the order of unlocking colours is that I felt the aqua and the purple worked really well together as like colours that we could use to promote the game, like using all our marketing material. I think when they were used together in levels, it had like a really strong visual identity. So I really wanted those to like define the beginning of the game, like the whole the cyan sort of aqua background for the village is like really identifiable visually. And then when you introduce purple into that works really well as well. And then moving from there on, those two are like, like a tetradic color wheel, where you've got colors on 3 points, forming a triangle. So that's kind of what I tried to do, so that all the colors were complementary. So you had the purple, the orange, and the aqua, and then it was about filling in the rest of the colours in a way that still made it look visually interesting and for the colours to work together. There's definitely a few colours in the game that aren't as visually nice as some of the other ones. Like when you have a yellow background, that's like a little bit too intense. And then if you have and the reds and yellows together as well, they don't really sit very well. So we had to spend a lot of time like choosing which color elements were used so that it didn't look really horrendously ugly as well.
Make sure it all looks beautiful and colourful.
Exactly.
The style, though, the actual art and the characters have such a lot of a lot of character, shall we say? And how did you come up with that particular style? Why did you choose that one over something else?
So the style was completely dictated by the mechanic. So we came up with a core mechanic, and in order for the mechanic to work, you had to have like a flat background. Like it had to be a completely flat background. You couldn't have any parallax, because if there was parallax, it would get in between the objects and the background, and that would ruin the illusion of stuff disappearing into the background. So we were like, right, we've got to kind of embrace this two-dimensional art style. We actually had some game consultants from other larger video game studios come in and offer some mentorship, and they were like, no, you really need to change the style in a way that has parallax, that is more traditional with video games. And I really railed against it, because that's not what Hue was about. Hue was very much a two-dimensional game, and the mechanic worked on this sort of two-dimensional layering system. So instead of kind of trying to go more traditional with the art style, I kind of went more towards what the mechanic was kind of what that was kind of allowing, I guess. And that automatically gave us like a bunch of limitations. So we had a flat color background, and the player could change that to any color that they wanted essentially throughout the game, which meant that we could only have two neutral colors, which were blacks and whites. So automatically we've got this sort of silhouetted style. We looked at Sol Bass, who does like a bunch of minimalist movie poster design stuff. And we tried to go with a similar style to that, with like quite large blocky cutout stuff. It was going to be quite low overhead to produce the assets for that sort of style. It would have had quite a strong visual identity. But the problem we found is that when we were creating like these temple environments and these like fiery dungeon environments and like these mountains and all this stuff, because you've got really thick, solid blacks without any detail, like all those environments just look the same. Like you weren't able to communicate any real diversity. So we ended up looking more towards shadow puppetry, and there's an artist called Jan Pianowski who was massively influential, and they create these sort of like shadow puppet style illustrations where they kind of cut this detailing out, and everything has really like delicate but strong silhouettes. So that was like hugely influential. And then we ended up taking those two sort of styles, and we kind of developed it on our own and kind of went our own route a little bit, which worked best for like the mechanic and the game. Like adding these sort of particle effects and stuff give a better illusion of movement, like I get a better sense of motion. And then cutting the detail in with like this wobbly hand-drawn aesthetic. Well, the wobbly hand-drawn aesthetic mainly came around because I can't draw a straight line with a graphics tablet. So that's kind of why we ended up doing that.
There's pencil
you hold
for that.
shift. Holding shift really helps.
Oh man, the worst was drawing circles. I had to draw loads of circles. That was so hard.
Again, you just press U and automatic circles just come flying out.
Really?
Yeah. It's the create shape tool.
Oh right, the shape tool.
Could have changed the whole of Hue, Alistair, just right there. If you just told them that earlier on in the game.
Really sharp vectors.
Or you get like, oh god, what is it? SketchUp, and you use their tool.
yeah?
They have a self-drawing circle tool, which is really cool.
Nice. Have you seen that maths teacher that can draw perfect circles on the blackboard?
Oh yeah, that's an awesome trick in which you basically all you got to do is lock your shoulder and you just draw perfect circles every time.
Yeah, it's like you become a human compass. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had a graphics teacher who could just do that any size you wanted.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That's super
just,
cool to have.
You just yell at him, just like draw a circle, like bang.
Bam.
Oh me,
that's why he stayed at a £20,000 job a year. He never got fired for that one reason.
I get paid the big bucks. Look at me draw this circle.
You want it small, medium, or large?
Yeah.
But like the actual world itself, there's a lot of personality. I love the characters that you've created. It was almost quite I wouldn't say 1950s style to the kind of character design, but that sort of era, an older feel to it, and the buildings themselves as well. Was that sort of something you looked at, or how did you go about creating that side of the world?
Yeah, so a lot of people have compared some of the character design stuff to Steamboat Willie and that sort of retro, sort of Disney stuff. But for the buildings and everything, we looked at sort of like European architecture, things like wrought iron fencing and like quaint sort of seaside European homes with like decorative bridges and stuff. Actually, I've got a book here. Where is it? It's a really good book. It's somewhere around here. It's down there. It's a book on ornamental design and architecture. So like all the detailed embellishers that are used in architecture. And we were like really exaggerated and pulled that out. And then we ended up creating like all this detailing and stuff. Like you'll notice like all this. Now, some of it isn't necessarily like pulled directly from architecture. We use pattern design a lot. So you'll see a lot of patterning coming out of like being subtracted from the terrain and subtracted from the buildings, which create this sort of kind of lacy, decorative feel to everything.
That's really cool. I just love the style. It's just fantastic art style. It all fits together really nicely. And on another different note, how did you get the game out there? Because, of course, it is coming out tomorrow. Yeah. Which I presume for the same time that Alistair puts this talk out. But
maybe.
Maybe.
I could stay up for another 12 hours.
You can do it. I believe in you. No sleep tonight for you.
Yeah. Tonight would be better. If you could upload it tonight, that'd be great.
I have yet to sleep. You want it done? I'll get it done for you, Henry. You're a good friend. We haven't spoken in 6 years, but my God.
Can you draw me some circles as well, please?
Dude, you got it. I'll draw you the best circles. I'll make a video just for you.
Awesome. Alistair draws circles.
In different colours, different hues, you could say. God, it's bad. So how did you get Hugh out?
I've already done fan art for this thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on your website. It's on your Twitter page, you dumb bum.
What?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, did like a...
He called you a dumb bum, you know?
Yeah.
You did some fan art?
Yeah.
What? Where?
A couple of days ago. I'll repost it if you want.
Is it on? What's it on?
Yeah, I'll just repost it to you now because I'm bored. I'll do it in like half an hour.
Cool, repost it to me. I haven't seen it. Twitter's been a bit flooded, so I might have... I'm
on my Windows and I hate it. I'm a Mac user because I love hating. I love getting hated by people. Yeah, come on, let's talk about PR. How are you doing it?
How's it been there? Like, from start to beginning, it's been quite a journey now. It's like two and a half years, isn't it, Hugh, in development? Is that right? From conception to release?
So from the original prototype, yeah, but it's only really been actively in development for 2 years. Like we built a prototype and we didn't touch it for 6 months. So it's been well, we didn't get investment. It took 6 months for the investment to come through, so that's why we weren't working on it.
Well, there's a question. How do you get investment for games, like indie games? A lot of people always want to kind of figure that stuff out, and what is the best way to do that?
Sorry, wait a sec. Can you say that again? You got distracted by Twitter.
How did you get funding?
Thanks, Henry. Thanks.
Sorry, man.
How did you get investment, basically?
So we put together 3 pitches, 3 game pitches. We just finished. We had a publishing deal with Mortimer in our last game. And that was kind of drying up around that point. So we put together some game pitches, and we approached a number of different people, one of which was a very large platform holder to try and secure investment. We nearly got that. We were expecting that to go through and everything, but they pulled out at the last minute. So we pitched another one of our games to a local investor called Kuju that hadn't funded any games at that point. Like we were going to be their first game. They were interested straight away, and they asked us. Well, I proposed that I put together a prototype for Hugh. So I went away and I worked solidly for 2 weeks putting together this prototype. I sent it over, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll fund you guys." But then in the end, it's because we were the first game. It was quite a long period to actually secure that investment. So it was 6 months later that we got that through, and then we started development properly.
And like, did you, investment-wise, was it just Kuju? Because it's coming out under Curve Digital, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So Curve went on board from the start. We developed it independently for the first year and a bit, I think. I think it was at Rezzed we were showcasing the game, and Curve approached us and said that they were interested in publishing it. And we had approached a few publishers previous But Curve were the only one in London, so it's us. And they wanted to be involved. They wanted to, they had to start voice, the voice recording stuff as well. So all the other guys are like, hey, to us, which point, where it's like, we'll help you through the whole process, which is more appealing than what other people were offering, so we went with that in the end.
Cool beans. That was quite crackly on my end. I hope you guys got it.
Yeah, it's crashing hard, so...
Okay, so it wasn't just me then. I strained my ears and I didn't hear what you were on about there. So
there's not much we can do. It's just you got to hold your fingers, got to cross them.
Well, bro.
Oh, Henry,
Oh.
you breaking up on us.
We might want to go off video and just do audio for better connection quality.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Okay, I'm hoping. I mean, Henry is a ginormous blur at this point in time. He's sort of moving his head. There is life. Henry, speak. Say something.
I shan't. Okay, cool. I've turned my video off. Maybe that'll sort things out.
Fantastic. I mean,
It's a little yeah, it's a little better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Remember to edit out. Jesus, you know.
You know, stuff I don't do. So, yeah.
So, of course, as you mentioned, you got kind of Curve on board thanks to convention. So how was that PR starting point?
So the PR's been really good, actually. That's something we're not very good at ourselves. So we spoke to Curve, and they were going to do all the PR to begin with, but in the end they hired on these 2 additional firms. So we've got a PR agency in London and a PR agency in the States as well.
Oh, awesome.
So they're helping us out as well as the stuff that Curve's doing. So we've got like this 3-pronged approach, which as well as us as well, I guess. So like a 4-pronged approach, which is the reason why we've got the reviews coming through that we do now. It's because like they've been liaising with them, handing out codes. Like, I think we've given out over 1,000 codes now or something. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, that's been the approach really. We've been taking it to every event that we can. We've been speaking to press like the whole time. We've been tweeting like no tomorrow. Like Twitter's been like a massive part of it. We do Screenshot Saturday most Saturdays. We're posting GIFs and all sorts, trying to keep on top of that as much as possible, and then it keeps people interested. I think it was I went to Games, I just got back from Gamescom, and it was the first time that I've been there, and like nearly everyone that I spoke to that was a developer had heard about the game in some sort of capacity. So I think spending this last 2 years like reaching out to developers, posting updates all the time, posting loads of like work in progress stuff has like really paid off when it comes to general awareness of the game.
So basically, you have to be on board straight from the get-go, basically, kind of straight, putting stuff on Twitter. And you mentioned about, of course, these PR firms that you had in America. Is that right?
Yeah,
is that something you'd recommend other kind of indie developers to get on board with, like kind of assist, help out and ask these firms to kind of help out with their PR side of things?
Well, I think if indies aren't going to go the publisher route, it's absolutely essential. Like they need really like this PR side of things. Unless you've got someone on board dedicated doing marketing who's like super experienced. Speaking to these PR agencies is a great way to get the exposure that you'd normally get through a publisher. So I think it's definitely something I would do moving forward. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next project, but if the next project isn't through a publisher, I would definitely hire PR agencies like directly myself.
Are they quite expensive to hire? Because I mean, I personally never actually heard of much of them, but I've obviously you've had a good experience. Are they quite an expensive thing for indies to get on board with, or are they kind of affordable?
I guess you need to balance cost and reward. I think a lot of these PR agencies are flexible. They can offer different packages based on different budgets. For us, it was definitely worth it for the exposure that we're getting. So for us, the cost / reward was definitely worth it.
Definitely. And of course, the game has gone from like, a lot of alpha or beta testing. When did you start getting the kind of the game in the hands of the fans? When did they get a chance to really start testing, and how far through development was that?
So you mean like people?
Yeah, like the public to kind of have a go. I mean, like I said, I tested it. When did everyone else also get a chance to test it and give feedback? Because I imagine that played a big part in the way the game evolved.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had an open beta. It's been pretty close knit with just kind of friends and other developers and people that we know and stuff through the publisher. So the general public have only really had a chance to play the game at events that we've showcased at. But we've showcased at a lot of events. So we usually do about 2 events all over the world a month. And by doing that over the last 2 years, like lots of players have been able to have a chance to play it. I keep getting tweets from all sorts of people saying that they'd played the game at various conferences already, which is a good way to spread like awareness and word of mouth. But I think like there's, as a 2-man team, and really just me being the only developer really on the project, or like the core developer, we did have some contractors help out and stuff here and there. But as the core developer, like there's only so many testers you can get on board before you get flooded with information. You kind of need to manage that as well. Like if you have 100 testers, like there's no way you can like review everything that everyone's saying. But whereas if you have like maybe 10 dedicated testers who are like writing really in-depth sort of bug reports and everything else, that's a much easier way to manage stuff as an indie.
Definitely. And how do you think the game has changed though? Like, do you feel like it would have been a different game if you hadn't had that kind of testing and feedback?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, taking it to events was like the big informer when it comes to making design decisions. Pretty much every design decision we'd make, we'd then take it to an event, we'd test it. If it worked, we'd keep it in. If it didn't, we'd scrap it. So it's like this massive, long, iterative process. Where really it was just consumers coming through. We wouldn't listen. This sounds bad. So it's not that we wouldn't listen to people. We'd listen to people, but the most value was got by watching people and making decisions based on what people do rather than what they say.
Totally.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned, of course, it is a 2-man team. It literally is you and Dan DeRocha from Toxic Games, Mudvark, Fiddlesticks, and multiple companies. But how did you two kind of form together? How did you guys mold? And you've done one project before, but how did that kind of relationship work?
Yeah, so for your listeners, we met at university.
We were there at the Blood Pact.
You were there. You saw it.
It was a magical night.
You saw the beautiful conception.
Oh.
So we met at university. I was in first year, I think. I started work on a project called Mush, which is a mobile game, and he was working on a separate PC game at the time called Cube. And then I did a bit of volunteer work on his projects, doing UI design and 2D art and stuff. That's how we started working together originally. But by the time we've graduated university, we both had quite large teams of people with sort of commercial projects trying to run business. And it's very difficult to run a games business straight out of university with like a 5-man team. I think it's something you really need to build up with a very small core team before you can sort of get more people on board. So we were both struggling straight out of university, so we decided to team up instead and use the sort of funds that we had, pulled them together, and started a small studio. And there was 3 months until the Windows 8 release, I think. And we spoke to Microsoft, and they were like, "If you can make a game for Windows 8, we'll give you a ton of exposure." So we ended up making a game called Mortamelon in 3 months, which was just like a real quick physics puzzle game that we just wanted to churn out to kind of bootstrap the company. And it ended up doing really well. It got like 1 million downloads and was #1 downloaded game on Windows 8 for a period. And using that success, we were then able to secure further investment to do the stuff that we're doing now, really.
And so, of course, now it's HUinterview, of course, coming out very, very soon, probably in like 5 hours' time. What was the choice for the platforms? Like you've mentioned before, we had this, like there's a multitude of platforms that you're releasing to, but why did you choose certain ones over other platforms, if there was a reason? Yeah,
sure. So really, we were just aiming for PC Steam to begin with. Like that was our core platform. And it was really the advice of the publisher that we listened to. I think when we first started talking to them, there was certain it was a slightly different market. So Wii U was still really viable. PS3 was still big. Xbox 360 was still big. So we were still looking at targeting those potentially. But development ended up going a little bit over schedule. And because of that, time went on and those platforms maybe decreased in popularity somewhat. So we just made decisions really based on the experience that our publisher had regarding sales. And so as well, we made certain decisions based on marketing opportunities. So, for example, we are releasing on Windows 10 in September to the Windows 10 store. That decision was made because Microsoft give extra exposure to Xbox games if they're also coming out on Windows 10. So that was a decision made really for the exposure and marketing opportunities. And then the same with Sony and Vita. Vita have like a really awesome fan base, and Sony has like got more marketing opportunities if you've got like cross-buy, and then you're supported on both those platforms. So those were the main reasons. We hit up all the biggest platforms, and then kind of did up some of these offshoot platforms because of the marketing opportunities.
Awesome. And what about the NX?
Nah, I can't talk about that. I don't know what you're talking
Sorry, I can't.
No comment.
Okay, so
what about the Ouya?
Oh God,
Ouya? What's that?
You remember the Ouya?
Video Shield, or the Gizmondo, or the Sega Saturn?
The Saturn.
Yeah.
The Sega CD.
Oh yes. Those retro great platforms that they are. And with Hugh's development, what was your personal favourite and least favourite part of its cycle? Like, do you have like a best moment and a worst moment in its development process?
That's a good question, actually. The highs and the lows. So I guess in hindsight, a high would probably be the winning the Develop Indie Showcase. Like, that was a real turning point in the game's development. Like, before then, I was just focused on creating like a really polished sort of vertical slice that we could take to events and showcase and stuff. But after we won the Develop Indie Showcase, like something clicked in my brain, and I kind of realized actually people want like a finished game. Like, people, once this game's finished, like, people are going to expect it to be good start from end, not just like a really shiny 30-minute experience. So that was awesome in that we got that the honor of winning that award, but also that it massively influenced like our development process as well. And I think a low point, I think towards the beginning of the project, it was really difficult to make solid progress for some reason. Motivation was at a low, maybe about 3 or 4 months into the project. I was working like really long hours, and I would by the end of the day, I'd be like, I've done nothing today. I've done nothing productive on this project today. I'm going to have to work really late tomorrow. And then the following day, I'd work really late that day, and I'd do nothing as well. And it would just like, and I'd just feel like I had to work more and more and more, and even less and less was getting done. And then I think we went to GDC that year, and like, I had loads of deadlines with the investors, and I wasn't able to make any progress. Like, no matter how long I spent on stuff wasn't getting done. And that was like incredibly stressful. Like, no matter how hard you work, stuff isn't getting done. I don't mind like really high intensity work and pressure and stuff, as long as stuff is getting done. But when you just can't get the motivation, like, you just have like complete motivation dropout, there's not a huge amount you can do. I just kind of had to grin and bear it, get through it, and then in the end I was kind of able to muster the enthusiasm from somewhere. I think from showcasing, like, when you showcase and people enjoy it, then that is a real sort of motivation booster.
So really, it was kind of almost the showcase, and that kind of made the game become what it is today, and actually get you through the hard times.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, what was your favorite convention that you guys showcased at, like, recently?
Favorite convention. So I'm from like Norwich area, and that's like my home city essentially. And they run a little games conference called Norwich Games Festival. And it's like super small, super tight knit, but everyone's like really friendly. Loads of like people, like loads of all my friends turn up and stuff from like back home. So that's like a really nice opportunity to show all my friends the sort of thing that I've been working on, and to hang out with all my old school friends, and to see other local developers' games and stuff. And and it's really chilled and like low key. Like, there's no pressure. Like, you're not trying to get sales or like really heavily market to people, or like make the most of the value of the time and stuff. It's just much more chilled out. So I think that's probably my favorite. But I mean, we've showcased at Indiecade. Indiecade's like super creative, like hyper creative almost. and that's really awesome. That's always like super inspiring. So I love Indiecade, and I really want to go to Game City. I haven't been to Game City in ages, but hopefully we'll showcase there this year because that's always good fun as well.
Totally. We'll just get in touch with Corrado from Newport,
Yeah, exactly.
He'll
just
run it. I mean,
he'll just get drunk and fall over again.
Yeah. That'll happen. God, I should go to Game City this year.
I actually might be as well.
Yeah, we all should.
Oh, cool. That'd be good.
Henry, pay us out to go there.
Yeah, Henry, come on.
We'll fill your
with your
game.
huge money, your huge money, you must pay for me an hour to go there.
I'll speak to the investors, see what they say.
Yeah.
So are you guys coming to the Hugh launch party, by the way?
I am. I don't know if Alistair has that kind of dedication.
I'm in like
I
the
put
middle of Yorkshire. It's a bit of a trek for me to come all the way down to London. When is it?
So it's not this Friday. It's the Friday after.
Probably not.
You failure. All your audience are welcome to come. It's a loading bar at 6 p.m.
It's all you can drink. All drinks on Henry.
Yeah. There's going to be free drinks. So
there you go. For any listener that wants to go and get a free drink and a great fun time with the developers of Hue, you go to that party.
For sure.
Remember, Henry really likes getting kicked in the nuts.
We could reminisce about all the university days, I'm sure, but that probably wouldn't be appropriate for listeners.
Anyone that wants a free drink has to turn up in a morph suit. That's the rules.
Yeah.
At least pink or purple, one of the two colours.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, okay, for like people that don't know, who would you recommend following at the moment? It's 2016. Who are the top developers that you personally think are worth following for the rest of the year?
Ooh, developers to follow.
People to get inspiration off of, apart from yourself, of course. Oh man, my mind's gone absolutely blank. I'll have to come back to that question. I'll think about it. That's cool. Are there any games that you've personally been looking forward to this year? So I just finished Inside and I loved it. Any other games? I'm still got to play Abzu, which I'll hopefully pick up. What other games? Give me a list of games that are coming out, and I'll tell you if I'm looking forward to them. Coming out will come out. I mean, recently, of course, there was No Man's Sky, which I'm sure
I've heard your opinions on that, Henry.
Oh, did you hear that in the interview? I'm a
bit
worried it's
I didn't. So, what is it exactly?
I just think in order for the game to have a bit more longevity, I think it would have been better if they went early access rather than releasing with all this like massive hype. With all that Sony's marketing, I think they probably could have done early access, made it a bit lower key, and then built up support, built up like a proper community. I don't know whether that would have worked out better financially for them in the long term. I mean, what they've probably done with all the day one sales and stuff, they've probably made more money than they could ever have hoped for. So maybe it was a good decision from a business decision, but in terms of like building like a really good game and having a labor of love and having an awesome community behind it that you can bring to future projects, I think maybe it wasn't the best route. No, I mean, we all know. I mean, we all know Sean Murray, but sadly, I think the internet knows Sean Murray for not exactly the amount of Well, there's the Peter Molyneux references there, isn't there? Really these days. I totally agree with what you're saying, but how come you guys didn't go for an early access or Steam Greenlight or a Kickstarter? How come you went purely for like a publisher or an investor? Yeah, so I mean, we didn't go through Greenlight because we had a publisher, so that meant that we automatically didn't need to go through Greenlight. But what was the other thing? What was it? A Kickstarter. The reason we didn't do... So I was actually interested in doing a Kickstarter, but because we'd got investment really early on, like the investment terms that we had weren't really compatible with Kickstarter, I don't think. I mean, if we were absolutely desperate, we might have been able to get it to work somehow, but it would have been a massive hoo-ha. So really,
they have no rules. It's like Wild West out there.
Well, it's not so much for Kickstarter; it's more with our investors. That's where the problems lie. And what was the other? What was the other one? It was early access Steam. Oh, so early access. Yeah. So the reason we didn't do early access is because it's quite narrative driven, and I don't know, like
spoil anything.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of work as well to like tie everything together, and that kind of all happens at the end. Like we were building lots of individual puzzles, and like having to tie it all together, then flesh it out would have been a bit of a design challenge. We would have ended up spending a lot of time managing the community and stuff, which we didn't really have a huge amount of time for. Especially like we would uploading builds with so many bugs like all the time at the beginning. It would have just been a mess, really. I don't think people would have wanted to pay for the stuff that we had at the beginning of development.
Hugh. It's just a really, really cool concept. Like I've played it, I've seen it from its alpha to what it is now, pretty much. And it has evolved greatly from quite sharp graphics to very kind of almost smooth, circular, non-perfect circles.
Yeah, very not perfect.
But yeah, like I haven't actually played so far the final build, which I will have to get my hands on. Which you've improved the story from what I've heard.
Yeah,
and
you had old voiceovers. We recorded the final voiceover like right at the very end of development. So like we had no idea if it was really going to work. Like we got some placeholder stuff in just so that we could get audio in that was triggered by collecting the letters and stuff. But we did the final recording like a couple of weeks before we were going to lock down the build. So
how long did it take to write that script? Because of course it's heavily narrative. Like how long did it take you to sit down and process it and figure out how it's all going to fit together?
Yeah, that was a really hard part of development because I've got no experience doing any creative writing stuff. I know that I'm not bad at writing, and like academically, like I'm okay at that, but I've never done any creative writing. So that was a real challenge. I think I rewrote it 40 times.
Wow!
I actually got on board Benny Hill. He did the narration in Ether 1.
Oh, Ether 1, yeah.
Yeah. And he offered like narrative consultation. So he would read my script. He would come on Skype calls with me. He'd offer advice and help me rewrite bits of it and stuff. So he really helped when it came to like character development and like story arcs and stuff I hadn't really considered before. So I learned. It was only really through working with him that I realized how little I knew about creative writing. I think if I was ever going to study anything again or do an online course or anything, I think it would be in creative writing because I feel like that's probably one of my weakest areas at the moment. But because we spent so much time refining it and stuff, it actually came together quite well in Hugh.
And how many, like, of course, there's the mother of Hugh. Do you ever hear any other voices, really, or is it just kind of her narrative voice guiding you through the adventure?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's these two competing character arcs. So there's two characters at the beginning of the game, and you're kind of set with these expectations of who they are and how they've ended up in their sort of situation. But as you play through the game, you'll notice that those character arcs sort of defy your expectation in certain ways, and then you kind of have to reevaluate how you kind of perceive these characters. And that's kind of done through the dialogue as you progress. And like all the dialogue kind of ties into the colors, it ties into color theory, it ties into your mother's sort of backstory. And yeah.
That's awesome. So is there like, I mean, it is like a Metroidvania-esque game, and you do get these different colors as you go through. Do you also have any kind of audio collectibles, or is there any kind of like things that players can search out for to get extra insight into what's going on?
Yeah, so I call it Metroidvania Light because it hasn't got a lot of like the getting lost and like the really hardcore exploring and
that's not bad, trust me.
navigating through maps and things like that. So really it was just a way of making it feel like a fuller world and like being able to lock off different areas that you couldn't access. It worked quite well with the mechanic as well. But
it reminded me quite a bit of Guacamelee, sort of start Metroidvania-esque of doing things.
Yeah, that was massive. Yeah, Guacamelee was massively influential. Like it's got those coloured sort of barricades as well. We totally stole that idea.
Said Drinkbox is going to hunt you down. Have you?
It's fine. You'll have a Visa war with them, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've kept that thing alive long enough.
Oh. So is it going? So how would you? What platforms is it coming out for tomorrow? Is it all of them, or we have to wait for certain people to get it? Or
yes, it's coming out on Windows, Mac, and Linux on Steam, as well as Xbox One and PS4 tomorrow, simultaneous release. And then late September, we're hoping to release the Vita version, and then some point after that, we've got a Windows 10 version coming out on the Windows 10 store.
Fantastic. And how can people get in touch with you and your game?
So you can follow the game at Hugh the Game on Twitter, or you can go to HUinterview.com, or you can follow me directly at Henry Hoffman on Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Henry, for coming on and kind of telling us all about Hugh and, of course, how the development process has been and what the best way is to get games out there. I know our listeners will be very happy to kind of know what development is like, because it's never as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, right. Tell me about it.
Yeah. I guess one last question. What is the future for Hugh? Are you going to continue with any extra content, or are we just going to push it forward?
Yeah, so at the moment, my main focus is going to be just on making sure that any bugs that anyone finds, any inconsistencies or blockers or like spikes and difficulty and stuff, that we iron that all out and we have the best possible game from start to finish. I think that when that's done, we're going to gauge the success of the game, and if it's like a hit, I guess there's definitely scope to add more content. I've got ideas for more puzzles and more mechanics, so it would be good really to be able to use those.
Totally. Can I get a Hugh plushie?
You can, but you'll have to make it yourself.
It's fine. I'll make it out of marshmallows, but nice and fluffy.
Awesome.
Over to you, Al. Any questions?
No, we've all pretty much done here, I feel.
Awesome.
I feel you've talked long enough, Henry.
Yeah, I feel that too.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because I'm the only one out in this like conversation who hasn't had any physical contact with the game yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've played 14 hours of Hugh.
Yeah, you've play tested it. Henry made it. I'm just a bystander here, who
innocent bystander.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to play this game. That's all about color. So I'm looking forward to it, and everything I've heard about it sounds fantastic. So
awesome. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right, everybody. We're Huge Updates with Hugh Henry Hoffman. I'm Alison
Hugh
McInnes.
Hoffman.
Yeah.
Hugh.
Peter Morris as always, and you can find us on Twitter at wherever our addresses are.
Jeez, Al.
I could do this more. I could do this more professionally, but I know.